Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the We're Not From Hollywood podcast. I'm your host, Faizel John Moment.
And I'm Brandon Reines, and today we have as a guest Owais Siddiqui. Did I pronounce that right?
Hideki, yes, close enough.
Siddiqui. Now, people might recognize Owais. Might be hard to tell with his hat on, but he was the guy in Grotesque that got the drill through the head. That's probably where most people know him from. He's been in a couple other stuff too. He was in a horror show, but that's kind of his claim to fame. So maybe to start, tell us how you got involved in the Edmonton art scene.
Well, I was born and raised in Edmonton, and despite not really kind of trying to become active in any particular sort of projects, I became acquainted with several artists just as a result of wanting to advocate for the arts and cultural community here in Edmonton. As a result, I got invited actually to participate in Grotesque, the first. And I was in the montage. It was a fun and interesting experience. Met some great people, and after that, I suppose I was welcomed to a couple of other projects, and now with your next project that you're working on, Brandon, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask that. I don't remember because like for Grotesque, like a lot of other people were doing the casting. So there's people being hired that I wasn't even aware of. So I don't think like we met before Grotesque. I think we met like on set. So I don't know. Like how did we find you?
Sam Opp, he was the one responsible for contacting me to take part in Grotesque One, and he became an acquaintance of mine through another friend of mine whom I've had worked with in a different project. Her name is Kimberly Philpon. Kimberly was working on a separate movie that Sam had also worked on, and Kimberly and I had worked on a project called Necessary Evil, which was a locally produced web series, and this was back in the pre-COVID days. So I went to Kimberly's premiere that Sam had also worked on, and that's how I met Sam, and we had exchanged contacts, and then eventually he contacted me to work on Grotesque One.
Sam is like he's like the web that holds the Edmonton film scene together. Did I ever tell you, Brandon, I met him at a job too? I signed up for a 9 to 5 IT job, and I show up my first day of work, and who do I see at my job also working like databasing or something? Sam. And it's just like, oh, hey, you're here too now.
Yeah, Sam really makes his way around. It's
All
kind of great too
over.
because there's a lot of people like that work. They might work like with other film crews, and we just may not cross paths. Even Elena, we've had Elena on the show. She's been in some of our movies, and she met Sam on another movie set. And if Sam hadn't been working on that one, we might not have ever met her. So it's kind of good just to be able to throw that net out there just a little bit further and kind of
And
find.
he's branching out into Calgary too now. He's like all over the place, this guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Pretty,
wow.
pretty soon you'll be like, oh, I just met this guy in Johannesburg, South Africa. He's gonna fly here to be in the, it's like have the entire world at our fingertips.
Oh, meet my friend Ryan. You know Ryan Reynolds.
You might have seen him in a couple of things, yeah.
Yeah. What inspired you to get into the arts? Was it just always a thing in you?
I just always was fascinated by the creative process, largely because I don't actually believe I have a creative bone in my body. But, being able to either be a fly on the wall or fill up space, just being present was something that I was really quite just interested in being or doing and participating, right? And as a result, small bits here, small bits there. As a result, also taken a part of the Edmonton International Fringe Festival as a featured character as well. It's not anything that I really planned, but just by communicating, getting to know the community a little bit better, and really just understanding what the process is. I'm open to the experience, and it led to more experiences as a result.
We had you back. You were back in Grotesque too. However, we don't see your face, but we do see
Mhm.
your feet.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember I felt kind of bad because I was like, because we just basically needed a whole bunch of guys to walk through the shot. So I was like, okay, well, who do we have that we could give a credit in the movie for doing something simple, and they only have to be there for like part of a day. So I was like, oh, that Owais guy, and I felt kind of bad 'cause it's like, well, he's not really doing anything, and no one will see him in the movie, but it's like, well, we'll get to say hi, he'll get to, participate and get his name in the credits. So it's not like it's not a complete waste of time, but I kind of owed you one. So
Yo, in all honesty, considering what I was walking out of or away from, I'm kind of happy that only my feet are present. Maybe people would kind of draw awkward conclusions
yeah.
otherwise, but I mean, it was just fun to be a part of it all.
Yeah, I guess for anyone wondering what we're talking about, you haven't seen Grotesque 2, there's a scene kind of towards the end where Cindy Spretzer, basically she's been in the back room of this church doing something with these like 10 guys and they're all filing out of the room. So yeah, I kind of see what you mean that maybe you don't want to have your face associated with that, but it's still a funny part.
Well, the insinuation's hilarious, right?
And I was one of the guys too, just to make it clear.
So always in Brand's new project, you're actually the lead actor in this, right? We can talk about that a little bit, Brandon, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
do it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're
I
the
am.
actor in this, and I would say that's a pretty creative thing. Like that takes, even if you don't think you have a creative bone in your body, that takes a level of like wanting to do this to get involved with it. How did that feel? Do you feel like you've like flexed the? I'm going to call it a muscle because I don't think it's a bone that grows and is there, but I think it's a muscle that everybody has, and you can build it as you like work it more.
Yeah, it's calcifying. Yes. I mean, the fact is that being able to learn new skills, have new experiences, is really something that I'm quite appreciative of, and I'm thankful for Brandon for inviting me to take part in this experience. Uh, I really just was, first of all, quite surprised that Brennan would want me to be a lead in any of his projects. I'm, like I said, just as happy filling up space in the background. But again, this is, to me, a novel experience. Being able to be, open to direction is something that I think helps me work on my listening skills more than anything else. Also, I do have a hearing impairment, so making sure I'm hearing correctly, going on cue. It's not something that I would pretend to be good at, but again, if it is something that helps me develop a broader skill base, if it's something that helps me appreciate the process of putting, something together, especially, media-based or artistically, then it's something that, again, I'm really quite appreciative for. It's certainly a new experience. I'm not sure how frustrating I am to work with, but I've
I've had
been.
worse.
I mean, I can say honestly that I wish maybe I would have been a little bit more, I think, experienced to be able to make the process smoother. But the more I learn, the more I understand that it's never going to be easy specifically. And the best that you can do is have patience with yourself as much as with anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like for people, just so we can, I guess we may as well announce it. Like we've started shooting I'm Haunted 4, and Ovais plays the main character. We've had three female leads in a row, so I was like, yeah, we could switch up, have a male lead this time. And yeah, like it's not easy. Like I'm sure you've experienced like, oh, it's kind of like the other I'm Haunteds, where a lot of the movie is you by yourself talking to the camera. So basically, you have like 60 pages of monologue to go through. Like it's a lot of you just sitting there talking and describing things happening and acting by yourself. There's like a lot of that, and it's not easy. Like Elizabeth and people that have just a lot of acting experience, it wasn't easy for them either. Like it's hard to just like memorize and act out pages of scenes where there's no one to like act off of. There's no one to feed off of. So the fact that you're even able to get it done is like respect to that. So yeah,
It's
you're doing
creative flex.
fine.
Oh, it's really very much appreciated. Again, there's another show that you're working on, if I may mention, the horror show, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, to me, it's like a progression in which I had, the montage bit in which I'm done speaking, but I get to have my brains drilled out. Then me walking away from, in another scene in Grotesque 2, to horror show in which I have a small speaking piece. And now this, it kind of, goes from jumping off a step to jumping off of a cliff. But they've all been unique experiences, and they've all been quite different as well. It's interesting to step into a different personality with each project.
No matter what happens, like if the movie's good or it's not good, however it turns out, what people think of it, like it's something that like for the rest of your life, it's something that you did. It's like, hey, you got to star in a movie. Very few people get to do that. It's just, maybe you'll decide after this, like, yeah, acting, I don't want to do it anymore. But no matter what, it's like, hey, you did this cool thing that was hard to do and it got finished. It's like, it's something to take, it's like you as a filmmaker, it's like, no matter what, no one can ever say I didn't do it. It's like I made a movie,
It's several.
and so did Faizel. So it's just like at the very least, even if you're like lazy the rest of your life, you did one cool thing. You could always be like, hey man, like 30 years ago, like I made a movie all by myself. Or not by myself, but like you know what I mean? Like it's not easy to do. A lot of people talk about it, never get around to it. So it's like it's just a fun experience for you and we all get to like other people in the arts community in Edmonton get to participate and hopefully we get a good product out of it.
No, it's certainly very fun. And like I said, I don't intend to be lazy for the rest of my life. But the Edmonton arts community, broadly speaking, it has just, very unique, very amazing people involved in it. And I am not sure if many people outside of Edmonton are necessarily aware of, the gem of artistic creativity that actually exists here, and to be able to, give it some advocacy, to be able to support the arts and community, the arts and cultural community here, it's something that I do take a fair bit of pride in, despite, what role I might play. And again, just great to be involved in a more, active level. If I can make time for other projects, I would certainly like to be able to.
Yeah, I've all my movies, I don't know if all, but damn near all, like they take place in Edmonton. Like I mentioned Edmonton, I mentioned local landmarks. We're trying to help like all the the people here working on it. It's like I'm doing my small piece of whatever I can just to get us some exposure. Because yeah, like most people probably don't know where the hell Edmonton is, and they don't know that any movies are coming out of there. But it's starting to happen a little bit, like between Grotesque and the I'm Haunted series that are have some popularity. It's starting to get mentioned, and people know they'll mention Edmonton, like people from the US or wherever, they'll know Edmonton, like from the series, these movies that they like. So it's like I may be only reaching a small amount of people, and a small number of them are actually making the connection, like, hey, this place Edmonton, that must be where you're from, because all your movies are there. But it's like, hey, if that's all I can do, like we may as well. Like, why would you set your movie in New York or something
No,
when
I
it's
mean,
like Edmonton's a big place, we got stuff here. Like, let's support ourselves and let's be proud of where we're from.
you got to
You know,
lean into where you're from. I mean, every Stephen King novel takes place in Maine. Like, you got
Yeah.
to just lean into where you're from and you can mine the best stories. And there's so many good stories in Edmonton.
I mean, my day job is as a historian for Canada's
Yes.
largest living history museum, Port Edmonton Park. So I've, read through a lot of Edmonton's history. And to tell you the truth, Edmonton as a society, as a community, literally is a community that was kind of cornered between the Rocky Mountains and an icy landscape before we ended up populating it and growing these stories and these heritages that have now become a part of our legacies. It's amazing to see how adaptable our community is, and especially when it comes to our arts and the cultural communities. So again, what you're doing, Brandon, and the other figures involved in being able to add to these stories and add to the landscape, it just I think that it texturizes our society as such.
Your day job is actually at Fort Edmonton Park, which is possibly one of the coolest day jobs, honestly. You must know a lot about Edmonton's history just through your job and through just working there and soaking in all these stories.
Yeah, it is really something quite phenomenal to me. I started off as a volunteer there as well. And eventually I went from volunteering to becoming a costume historical interpreter to becoming the Fort's very first multicultural narrative supervisor, in which I help research, develop, and present various historical stories from the perspective of our minority communities. So we're always, not only necessarily changing, but we're making history in the process as well. There's really no telling, how far we could take this potential. And the more I learn about it, the more fascinating it becomes. And I was born here.
Yeah, I think there's probably like even myself included, like I probably don't know as much of the history as I
I mean,
should.
it's
Like I
exactly
probably
that.
know more about the history of New York than I do about Edmonton, and I've lived here like almost all my life because it's not you don't unless you like seek out that kind of information, they don't make movies about Edmonton history, and if they are, they're not really seen by a wide audience. So there's like where are you going to learn about it? But yeah, there's so many cool stories that happened here, and it's just like someone should give us the chance, like give
But you
us the money to make the stories that happened here. We could tell our history. There's just not enough of it.
the city is so diverse and so different in like the people that make it up and everything. There's almost every kind of story here. You want gangster stories, you want like historical, like cowboy stories happened here. Also, like it's a very interesting place that I have come. I've been living here for about 10 years, and I've come to learn that it's a very interesting place.
It really is. I think, again, it's just not as broadly known as some of the bigger cities in North America. But in order to make a life here, especially in the mid to late 1800s and before the, sea and rail connected Edmonton to the rest of Canada, it took a lot of struggle and sacrifices to be able to make a life out here. And then afterwards, many of the people who were coming out west were largely individuals who were looking for opportunity to start from scratch from somewhere. And that includes many of our minority groups as well. So that's one of the factors that led to Edmonton becoming so diverse. And over time, it just kept adapting to a variety of changes. And many of our communities have stories to tell, and many of them are just very fascinating stories. And if they're not necessarily rooted in something factual, then it's the ingenuity and the creativity of the community and its community members that bring it forward.
Yeah,
So that
exactly.
creates. Mhm.
Like there's yeah, like you said, like there are historical stories that are interesting, but it's not like you don't want every movie to be like a documentary or a period piece. You want to encourage, kind of like they do it in Hollywood. You want to encourage your people to make up stories, just tell like a science fiction story or a horror story. Like you want to just show creativity, and it's not just retelling things that happen. It's like make
Mhm.
up a story, and that's why Hollywood became what it is. It's known for just creative people making interesting things. So it's like I think we should like all of us and people we know are kind of all doing our part in that. It's always a struggle because like we're working with fractions of the budget and just fractions of the resources. We just we're shooting that movie Owais at Faizel's house a couple days ago, and it's like yeah, it's just me, you, and a phone, and it's just like well, you know what? Like I'll tell any story I can with the resources I have. But it's like, damn, they in Hollywood, they're not doing this. They have just money to waste on things, and I would love to just see some of that come our way, regardless of where it comes from. But I would just love more of that opportunity for filmmakers in Edmonton to tell their stories.
I think that some things to keep in mind that help motivate me is that the first space shuttle that landed on the moon had less technology in it than today's modern gaming consoles,
Yeah,
right? So what we can put together with the technology, in our own hands is something quite remarkable. Again, making the most of it can go a long way. And another thing is that for the past better part of the 20th century and leading into the 21st, yeah, America has inundated Canadian society with its own media, right? Whereas, the exposure, the investment, the support that I believe that, our communities deserve, it's not certainly on the same level as the media and the, cultural communities, the artistic and media communities in America. But if we were able to, I guess, balance that level of support, then, again, we just really have a lot of potential at hand that we could make the most of to help support our society, our communities, our stories, and give people in our communities to be something proud of as a result.
yeah. It always kind of bothered me when like, and I understand like people in our circles like
It's a really good.
they want work, like they need jobs, right? So they're always looking for these big American productions to come here because they'll come spend a bunch of money and we'll all get hired. But it's like, why can't we do that ourselves? Why can't we get, I don't know whether it's the government or like somehow we have a system where it could be all Canadians making a movie here and still hire our own people. Like, why do we need Hollywood people to come here and they take all the good roles while we get all the tiny parts? And it's like, yeah, people get jobs out of it, but they could get jobs on a Canadian movie too. Like, am I missing something, or it just seems like we should be encouraging our to make our own stuff?
Part of it is legislation, right? We need to encourage our
Unfortunately.
representatives to, actually support a particular, I guess, percentage. Right now, I think maybe it's 20, 30% of, Canadian produced content that is out being distributed. We need to be able to insist that our representatives write legislation that helps for more Canadian content, more local content in local media that goes across the board, whether it be stage, film, TV, music. And then after that, it's investment. Those the two factors between legislation and investment really go hand in hand. But when there's more exposure, hopefully that should lead to more investment as well, right? At least that's my observation of the situation. There's certainly a lot more factors, but I would say that legislation and investment are certainly two of the bigger ones.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's a really good point. It's one of my favorite things to like talk about. Really, is like the idea that regionalism is gone and this flat mass culture that's taken hold, where like we're all like you said, everybody more about the history of New York than you do like the city that you live in, and like it's just yeah, get involved, watch a local film, get involved with the local scene, do whatever it is that like you like. Find the local version of that because I guarantee you there's a bunch of local weirdos that are doing the exact same thing that you're into on the regional level. And like if that starts to take hold a little bit more, you'll find that yeah, you get way more unique stories popping up.
Yeah,
And relatable stories at that too. I'll be honest, I'd much
Yes.
rather, work on a local project with people that I might be acquainted with and have a beer with them afterwards and kind of laugh about how the day went or what, future plans might be, than maybe get, some sort of opportunity in a bigger production somewhere else where nobody cares to get to know me or, speak to me or anything like that, right?
But on that note, also, like I would encourage local filmmakers or people who don't consider themselves filmmakers apply for grants.
Yeah.
Like fill up for because right now you're only getting people who are trying not only but like people are like not if you have a unique story and you feel like your unique story would make a unique film, you need to apply for a grant. Do that. If you might not get it, but you need to fill up that space with your story so that there's more people with those unique stories and so that eventually what gets picked is a unique story.
we've applied for grants, and it's
It's
yeah,
hard because there's not enough money. Yeah, there's not enough money flowing into the grant system, and so they only have so much money to give out, and it just like I agree, it's hard, but keep doing it because
yeah, like
the
Julie,
this
Julie Whalen, my co-producer on Grotesque and Grotesque 2, she was like frustrated because she'd always apply for grants and never get them. And finally, she just got one for her short film, and they just finished shooting, and it's in post-production.
it's like being an actor. You got to show up for every audition, and you got to like try and knock it out of the park for every audition. You're not going to get every audition. I trust me, I can tell you, you're not going to get every audition. But you got to try and knock it out of the park every audition because otherwise, what's the point? Don't be an actor because you're going to do more auditions than you do have roles if you're like at any level, really, besides like the A-listers.
Confines opportunity to a very, very small, demographic and group of people at that as well, right? It's for the same reason Pedro Pascal keeps getting all the roles, I guess,
Yeah.
I'm going to go watch him on Sunday, this son of a bitch.
right? Not no offense to Pedro Pascal, I think the guy's
Oh, no, no, no,
amazing,
no,
but
no.
he's in everything.
No, you know what? If he ever does see this, I'll fight you. Pedro Pascal, find me, I'll fight you. I mean offense.
Well,
Hey,
Stop being in
any
everything.
film.
we need every viewer we can get. We can't even offend one person because
He did
sorry,
film a
Pedro.
project in Edmonton too. It's the zombie show that he's in. There was an episode that was filmed in Edmonton and in Calgary.
He was
So
in Edmonton. That's right. I better not talk shit then. He might be back here.
Cool. Okay, well, we're almost out of time, so maybe we could wrap it up there. So, Ovace, yeah, so I guess basically right now we're in the middle of shooting a project, and I don't want to give too much away, but we'll just say you might even have a cameo appearance in I'm Haunted 5 that we're also shooting this summer. So at least you got some acting to do in your the near future here, and after that, who knows what the future will bring.
I mean, again, if anything comes along and if I can make time for it, I'll be happy to try to advocate and support as best as I can. At least now I have some more grounding experience into what I'll be getting into.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you coming on the show, and we will talk to you later.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Gotcha.
Much
All right.
appreciated.
Bye,
Have a good
everyone.
one, folks.